Hello, welcome back to Laser Cut and Fly RC Models. I'm a laser model guy. What I want to do today is carry on building the main plane or the wing for the Spitfire. I'll be building the centre section using the strengthened plywood sections, and I'll be then attaching both wings to create the dihedral, and also be fitting the components which will allow us to place the servos in, which will operate the ailerons. So let's get going. Before I get going, quick word about the channel. If you want to support the channel, you could press super thanks down below and make a small donation, or alternatively you can become a member. And I'd like to do a quick shout out to all our new members right there, and yeah, let's get going. Okay, so I think the first thing we look at is how we're going to fasten in our ailerons. Now they'll be hinged just the same as the tailplane was hinged when we completed the fuselage, but because our trailing edge is quite thin material, what I've done is I've cut some 10mm square balsa, and I've cut it down into a taper so that that taper can then fit in there right behind where we'd made our ribs come to. And you remember when we were doing the design on Lightburn, we actually factored that in, and we said there'd be a strip coming along there. So I'm going to fit those now. I'll clamp them in place, and then we'll have enough thickness to be able to cut slots for the hinges for the ailerons. So I'll just put those pieces in. These will also help to strengthen the wing as well at the trailing edge. So put some along there as well. Okay, so if I just get that in place, and then I'll be able to clamp it as well. It's a good fit. Okay, a couple of little clamps along there to make sure that that back edge is flush, so that our so that we've got a good edge or a good flush end to put our hinges in. Okay, I'll just put a little bit of glue on the end of each of these ribs as well, I think, just to help secure that in place. Okay, I'll just fit the other one in exactly the same way. Let it dry. Okay, I'll just put that in place and then clamp it down. Ooh, a little bit of glue on the end there, just to make sure it's all stuck nice and firmly. again making sure that we're flush with this end so that we've got a nice flat surface to put our hinge in. Just remove the excess glue because I don't want to be having to do too much sanding. I'll just leave those to set now, and then we'll be in a position to carry on as soon as they've firmed up. So they're on now. Just take the clamps off, and you can see that we've now got a nice tapered shape there, which comes to the height of this rib here and the height of this rib, and it gives us something that we can now cut our slots in, so we can put our ailerons in there, and the ailerons will then work on the hinges that we put in, just in the same way as we did with the elevator. So what I want to do now then is I'm going to put in the shapes that will allow us to insert our servos. So what I've got is I've got these two shapes here, and they'll sit in, and you can see the servo will then be able to sit right in there like that. Okay, so they are going to fit in just like that. So the size is perfect, so they just slot in there nicely, and the top piece will go in just like that. I'll just stick those in, and I'll show you what they look like in a second. And because they're such a good fit, because we designed them on light burn, they'll fit perfectly, and you'll see how all that works in just a little while. I'll put them in from this side so that I don't spread the glue everywhere. And the important thing is to make sure that these are absolutely flush with the bottom, and I'll do that just by pressing down on there and then pressing that into place, and then I know that that is going to be absolutely flush there. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'll just stick the top section in as well. In exactly the same way. I'll put that in from the bottom as well so that we don't spread glue everywhere. There we go. Get that excess off. And then if I do exactly the same, press that down and just press that into place, I'll know that that's going to be absolutely flush with the bottom, and you can see now where how that shape is going to work. The servo will slot into those slots there, and the actuator will poke out through the bottom of the wing, and there'll be a small rod going to the aileron. So I'll just let that set. I'll put the other one in, and I'll show you what they look like in just a couple of minutes. So these are set now, and you can see how the servo will just sit neatly in there. Oops. It'll just sit neatly in there, and I'll put a little bit of hot glue at the back just to hold, or on the inside of the wing just to hold it in place, and then the rod will come from there down to the horn on the aileron and operate it that way. The cable will just come through there, run along the bottom of the wing, and then go up into the fuselage, because the wing obviously will be sat underneath the fuselage. So that's how I'm going to deal with that. But right now, what I need to do, I've just loosely put these together around the, so these are the strengthening parts for the dihedral, and I've put them around the plate that I'm going to bind the undercarriage to. So the undercarriage will be wire, it will come out through the bottom of the wing and it will go around that shape there, and it'll be bound on. And I'll show you how I do that later. But what I want to do now is I want to just connect these on to our wings, clamp them in place, and we can fasten those on in their final permanent position. And just put a clamp on there, just to hold that in place, and then just align this back one. Be aligned. We don't want any twist in this at all. There we go. Okay, so I'll just I'll put an elastic band around this, and I'll leave it to set, and then we'll fasten the other wing on and see how we look. Okay, they're starting to firm up now. They're well clamped, and I've got a band holding this part together. So what I'll do is I'll fit the other wing now, and I'll show you what they look like once assembled. So I'll just put the glue on. Onto both the spars. Now I'll just fit those in together. Just like that. And what I find the best way to do this is if I align one first and then clamp that, then I can just move the other one until that's perfect and then clamp that one. That's the best way I find, rather than try to align everything all at once. Absolutely perfect. Put the other clamp on, and now I can worry about the front spar. Just raise that up slightly, get that perfectly aligned. Wipe the excess glue off. And there we go. Okay, that's the full wing assembled now, so you can begin to get some idea of the wingspan. So what I'll do now, obviously the trailing edge, there's a piece to come in there which fits perfectly, and then our formers or our wing ribs will be able to come across, and then that will be the wing more or less completed. apart from the ailerons. So what I'm going to do is leave that now to set, and then I'll show you what that looks like when the clamps come off. So this has had time to set now, so I'll just take these clamps off and we can have a little look at what we've got. Okay, so that's the main plane now, or the wing, and it's nice and solid in that centre section where all the stress will be, because of the dihedral. So, or you know, where the join is. So those joins are now well strengthened with ply. It's looks nice and flat. So what I'll do now is I'll put this the back piece of this trailing edge on. I'll fasten that in, and then we'll be in a position, once that sets, we'll be in a position to put our new ribs in, or the ribs for the centre in, which we've got here. The R1 for the centre, and then there's two R1s either side, just like that, and then we've got our R2s which will go there, and that will more or less complete the structure of the wing. So I'll just put those out the way, and I'll what I'll do is, in order to make sure that this fixes well together, I'll pin all the components down. So with that said, I'll just pin one side to start with, just to make sure that doesn't move. Whoops. There you go, that's nice and firm there. And then what I can do, so I can just put the glue on either end, and then we can just put that in place, pin it. Again, I'll pin it on both sides, just like that, and then we can just line this side and pin that down as well. And then I'll just pin either side of where it's glued. And then we'll just leave that now to set, and then once that's set, we'll be able to start putting our ribs in. Because we've now got the plate in the centre, I'm just going to have to take a little bit off the bottom here, and then what I'll do is, once I've done that, I'll go back onto light burn, and I'll alter our centre one, and I'll call it R1C, I think, so that that'll, you know, be correct next time. So I've just eased that up a little bit now so it'll fit. So if we put our glue in, and we'll see how that goes. I'll show you what that looks like right now. Oops. Put some glue all the way along there where it's going to connect with the central part. Bit down here, a little bit in that centre spot there, fits nicely just there like that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just leave this all to set now, and then we'll come back very shortly, and I'll put the other ribs in, and we'll see what the wing structure looks like then. So everything's firmed up now and all in place. I've put a little line of super glue down this central mount for the undercarriage, and I've put a line of super glue across the bottom as well. And what that'll do, because it's a nice snug fit, that'll wick in, and so that's now nice and solid. So what I'm going to do now is put the rest of these ribs on, and then once that's done, we'll be in a position to start looking at the leading edge, I think. So just put a little bit of glue in the back trailing edge as well, just to make sure it all fits in nicely. There we go, and they just fit perfectly into those slots. Oops, there we go. Okay, so that's all the ribs in place now, and I think next thing we'll probably look at is putting on our leading edge, and I'll show you how we do that in just 1 second. I'll just let this firm up a little first. So I'm making the leading edge out of this 6.5mm or 1/4 inch balsa, and it's going to be in 3 parts. So the central piece I've already cut, and that will sit just in there, going halfway across these 2 ribs here and halfway across these 2, and they'll join the leading edge of each wing. Now the leading edge going towards the wingtip, I've cut this shape in it so that it will fit just like this. It will go into these notches at the front, and then the front of the wingtip will, or the front leading edge will then fasten down to the wingtip like that, and then I'll be able to get the sander, and I'll just be able to smooth that down, bring this down so that it all blends in smoothly. And what I'll do is I'll put these on now, and then I'll show you how that looks in just a minute. Okay, so I'll just apply some glue, and all I'll do is I'll just put this one side in for now, just so that we can see what that looks like. Onto each of these bird mouths. And then along this tip here. Then I'm going to put some glue onto the leading edge that we've shaped. And then how I'm going to do this is I'm going to just put that into position there, just making sure that I'm properly lined up, and then I'm going to hold that with a clamp, just like that. Then I'm going to bring this in until it's seated in all the birds' mouths. And then I'm going to take a piece of elastic, bring that across, bring that round, oops, so that holds that firmly in place. And then if I just put a little clamp on that, just like that, and now that leading edge is being held in at this end by the elastic and at this end by the clamp. So all I'll do is I'll just let that set, and then I'll be able to sand that down till it's nice and smooth, blend it in, and I think we'll be in a good position. I'll just pin this one in the centre here. It seems to be trying to pull out a little bit, so I'll just put a pin in. Straight through that rib there. There we go. Okay, so the centre part I will put in a few minutes time, and that'll just sit straight in there like that, and then I'll put the other leading edge on the other wing in exactly the same way as I've done this. So I think we're looking good. What I'll do is I'll leave that to set, and then I'll show you what that looks like when I take the clamp off and I take the elastic off. So that's the rest of the leading edge on. I've fitted those pieces now, and I've just smoothed them down, so there's a small centre piece there, and the two wings. Now the wing tips, what I've done, this is the wing tip where I'd shaped it round, remember, and I've now smoothed that in, and it's that's smoothed into the end of the wing tip. And at the other end, I did something different. I brought the leading edge down and I just ended it where the spar was, and then I've put a piece in, and then I've blended all that. And all I'll do now is I'll just sand that to smooth it down a little more, and that'll be how the leading edge has fitted on. So next, what I want to do is I just want to put this together with the fuselage, and we'll see how it all fits together, because the fuselage will sit right on top of the wing here over this over these ribs. So let's go and have a look at that now, and we'll see how they all fit together. So the fuselage will sit right on top of these ribs here, right in the centre. And what I'll be doing is after I've fitted the undercarriage, I'll be putting a sheet of 1/16 balsa right on top there to hold it all in place, so that it'll have a nice solid base for the fuselage to fasten on. And then of course the wing fairings come on either side, which will go onto that 16th sheet. And just to complete the picture, because I'm conscious that the fin there looks a little bit odd without the rudder on, so I've just put the rudder on just to complete the picture. So that's the overall shape of the aircraft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the video there, and I'm going to put together the next video which will show how we fit the undercarriage, how we put the sheet on, get the connections for the ailerons to go through, you know, these cables, and how we sort of complete the picture of the entire structure. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.